The year is 1976. The heart of the Bronx beats to a rhythm of salsa and soul. It's a symphony of car horns and kids' laughter. Graffiti art, vibrant and alive, tells stories on brick walls. The air crackles with an energy that's pure New York City, a melting pot of dreams and hustle. Amidst the urban tapestry, a rumor spreads like wildfire. A whisper, then a shout. Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built, is back. After a 2-year renovation, the baseball cathedral is ready to roar back to life. For the Bronx, it's more than just a game. It's a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience. Meet the crew, a motley bunch of 6th graders about to trade their textbooks for a day of ballpark thrills. Leading the pack is Ted, a walking, talking firecracker of mischief with a heart of gold.
That's me, Ted, always up for an adventure.
His partner in crime, Bruce, lives for 2 things, baseball and anything edible.
And I mean anything, you name it, I'll eat it.
Then there's Robert, the brains of the operation. With his trusty notebook and a thirst for adventure, he's prepared for anything.
Got my notebook right here, ready for whatever comes our way.
Rounding out the group is Heather, a force of nature with a quick wit and an even quicker tongue.
Someone's got to keep these boys in line, right?
Their fearless leader on this epic field trip is none other than Mrs. Fox, a Bronx-born teacher with the patience of a saint and the spirit of a lioness protecting her cubs. She knows that within these kids lies a potential for greatness that extends far beyond the classroom walls. As the yellow school bus rumbles towards Yankee Stadium, a kaleidoscope of emotions fills the air. Anticipation crackles like static electricity. Nervous energy transforms into giddy laughter. This isn't just a field trip, it's a pilgrimage to a place where legends are made. The bus doors swing open, and the sights, sounds, and smells of Yankee Stadium wash over them like a tidal wave. A cacophony of vendors hawking hot dogs, the sizzle of onions on the grill, the pulsating rhythm of the stadium's heartbeat, all blend into an intoxicating symphony. The kids, wide-eyed and full of wonder, marvel at the sheer scale of it all. Towering floodlights illuminate the emerald green field, its perfectly manicured grass beckoning them closer. The air buzzes with the anticipation of thousands of fans. They navigate through a sea of pinstriped jerseys, their senses working overtime. The aroma of popcorn mingles with the tang of hot dogs, creating a sensory overload that makes their stomachs rumble in unison. Finally, they reach their seats, a prime spot right behind home plate. As they settle in, a collective gasp escapes their lips. From their vantage point, they can almost feel the energy of the players, the weight of history, the promise of an unforgettable day. The roar of the crowd hit them like a sonic wave as they entered the stadium's inner sanctum. Sunlight glinted off thousands of expectant faces, a sea of humanity united by their love for the game. The emerald green field, a perfect diamond under the midday sun, seemed to vibrate with anticipation.
This is it, guys. The house that Ruth built. We're standing on hallowed ground.
Hallowed ground for hot dogs, maybe. I smell mustard, guys, and maybe nachos.
You're unbelievable. Just try to savor the moment, okay? Not everything revolves around your stomach.
Mrs. Fox, ever the vigilant shepherd, gathered her flock around her. "All right, my little Yankees," she announced, her voice a beacon of authority amidst the chaos. "We've got prime seats, the sun is shining, and history is about to be made. But first," she paused, a mischievous twinkle in her eye, "a very important mission."
Homework? Someone whined.
Pop quiz on baseball trivia, another ventured.
Mrs. Fox chuckled, shaking her head. "Not this time, my dears. I need a crack team of snack ninjas. Your mission, should you choose to accept it," she paused for dramatic effect, "is to procure the following: popcorn, peanuts, and enough soda to quench the thirst of 1,000 camels." Ted, Bruce, and Robert, their hands shooting up in unison, needed no further encouragement. They were the self-proclaimed snack pack, and this was their moment to shine. With a salute to their teacher and a chorus of "We're on it, Mrs. Fox," they were off, navigating the crowded concourse with the precision of seasoned explorers. The concourse was a whirlwind of activity, a sensory symphony of sights, sounds, and smells that would make even the most seasoned New Yorker's head spin. The aroma of hot dogs mingled with the tang of cotton candy. The rhythmic thud of a distant drumbeat pulsed through the air.
Ted, his senses on high alert, sniffed the air like a bloodhound on a scent. "I think I smell churros," he declared, his voice taking on a reverent tone.
Bruce, his eyes glazed over with culinary desire, was easily distracted. "Ooh, look! A pretzel the size of my head!" he exclaimed, veering off course towards the siren call of giant baked goods.
Robert, ever the voice of reason, tried to maintain order. "Guys, focus," he urged, consulting his trusty notebook. "The mission popcorn, peanuts, soda, churros and mega pretzels are not on the list." But his words were lost in the cacophony, drowned out by the siren song of 1,000 delicious distractions.
Their quest for snacks led them deeper into the labyrinthine bowels of the stadium, past souvenir stands hawking everything from miniature bats to foam fingers. The crowds thinned, the air grew cooler, and a strange stillness settled over them.
It was Bruce, his stomach apparently equipped with a sixth sense, who first noticed it. "Do you guys hear that?" he whispered, his voice uncharacteristically hushed. "It's like a hum."
They stopped before a weathered metal door, its paint peeling, a single flickering fluorescent light casting eerie shadows. The hum, growing louder, seemed to emanate from the other side, a low, rhythmic pulse that sent shivers down their spines.
Ted, never one to resist the allure of the unknown, reached for the handle.
"Don't even think about it," Robert hissed, his voice a mix of apprehension and excitement.
But it was too late. The door creaked open, revealing a staircase that vanished into darkness, the mysterious hum beckoning them forward like a siren song.
They descended cautiously, each step echoing in the stillness. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of dust and something else. A faint metallic tang like the air after a thunderstorm. The hum intensified, vibrating through their bones, a tangible presence in the darkness.
Then they saw it.
Bathed in an ethereal blue light, a vintage subway car sat on the tracks, its windows glowing like portals to another dimension. It was unlike any subway car they'd ever seen, its sleek silver exterior adorned with faded pinstripes. The number 7 emblazoned on its side in a font that seemed both ancient and futuristic.
"This is it, guys. This is the real deal."
As if in answer to their unspoken questions, the doors hissed open, bathing them in an otherworldly light. Inside, the air crackled with energy. Baseballs hovered in midair, gloves spun in slow motion, and a faint chorus of cheers echoed through the car. The ghost train awaited. Hesitantly, the boys crossed the threshold, their sneakers echoing on the gleaming metal floor. The air inside hummed with an unseen energy, a low thrum that sent a shiver down their spines. The train car was empty, yet it felt strangely alive. Faint whispers seemed to emanate from the plush velvet seats, each one adorned with a bronze nameplate. Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Legends of the Game.
"Check it out! Babe Ruth probably sat right here."
"Where are we going, and how is this even possible?"
As if in answer to his question, a panel on the wall above them flickered to life. A holographic map materialized, depicting a swirling vortex of timelines, each one branching out like roots from a giant tree. At the center, a single point pulsed with a brilliant light. Yankee Stadium. Before any of them could react, a voice boomed through the train car, echoing with an authority that transcended time and space. "Welcome, travelers. You have boarded the Champions Line, a conduit through time and memory where the spirit of the game reigns supreme." The voice seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once, filling the train car with its presence. The boys exchanged nervous glances, their eyes darting around the car, searching for the source of the disembodied voice. Each stop on this journey will transport you to a different era, a different dimension of baseball's infinite possibilities. But be warned, the game is ever-changing, and the rules are not always what they seem. The train lurched forward, sending a jolt through the car. Outside the windows, the kaleidoscopic images solidified, resolving into a vibrant, cartoonish landscape. A giant hot dog, grinning mischievously, winked at them as they sped past.
With a jolt that sent popcorn flying, the train screeched to a halt. The doors hissed open, revealing a scene of utter pandemonium.
They had arrived in a world where the laws of physics took a back seat to slapstick comedy, a Technicolor dreamscape where the impossible was not only possible, it was encouraged.
The stadium was a cartoonist's fever dream. Giant peanuts danced in the bleachers, their shells chattering like castanets. A rogue hot dog vendor, his cart a runaway roller coaster, careened through the crowd, trailing a plume of mustard and relish.
And on the field, a baseball game of epic proportions was underway. But this was no ordinary match. The players, a motley crew of anthropomorphic animals and sentient sporting equipment, seemed to defy the very laws of nature. Ted, his eyes wide with a mixture of delight and disbelief, let out a whoop of laughter. "This is insane!" he shouted, dodging a flying baseball bat that seemed to have a life of its own. "I love it!"
Before they had a chance to fully process the cartoon chaos, the train was on the move again, hurtling through a tunnel awash in a kaleidoscope of flashing lights. The hum intensified, morphing into a throbbing bass line, a rhythm that seemed to pulse in sync with their heartbeats.
And then just as suddenly as it began, the chaos gave way to a symphony of shimmering lights and pulsating grooves. The train doors slid open, revealing a scene straight out of a Studio 54 fever dream, a disco-fied baseball diamond where the crack of the bat was punctuated by the beat of a disco ball.
Players in glittering uniforms strutted their stuff on the field, their every move a choreographed masterpiece. The umpire, sporting a sequined jumpsuit and a towering afro, called strikes and balls with a flourish that would make John Travolta proud.
Even the bases were getting in on the action, transformed into giant platforms where fans and players alike boogied down between innings. The air throbbed with the energy of 1,000 disco balls, a sensory overload of pulsing lights, infectious rhythms, and pure, unadulterated fun. The train, as if impatient with the disco distractions, lurched back into motion, hurtling through a tunnel that pulsed with the eerie blue glow of 1,000 circuit boards. The music faded, replaced by the high-pitched whine of futuristic machinery, a symphony of beeps, boops, and digital clicks.
And then, with a final shuddering halt, they arrived. The doors hissed open, revealing a scene that sent a collective gasp through the group. Gone were the familiar sights and sounds of a baseball stadium. In their place stood a gleaming arena of chrome and glass, a futuristic coliseum where technology reigned supreme.
This was the baseball of tomorrow, a high-tech spectacle where robots played alongside humans, holographic projections illuminated the field, and the game itself seemed to be controlled by an unseen hand, or rather, an advanced artificial intelligence.
As the boys watched in awe, a robotic arm descended from the ceiling, its metallic claw extended towards Robert. "Congratulations, rookie!" a voice boomed from the stadium's speakers, its tone devoid of emotion. "You have been selected for assimilation."
The boys, each thrown into a whirlwind of temporal baseball chaos, found themselves scattered across the bizarre dimensions of the Champions line. After narrowly dodging a rogue cartoon anvil in the Cartoon Chaos Stadium, I found myself face to face with a giant sentient baseball glove that spoke in rhyming riddles.
My nose, leading the way as always, stumbled upon a concession stand in the disco fever dimension that defied all logic and health codes. Mountains of glowing cotton candy towered over vats of bubbling neon-colored soda, each one promising a sugar rush of epic proportions.
Ever the pragmatist, I found myself in the heart of the futuristic stadium, face to face with a holographic projection of Babe Ruth himself. The Babe, his image shimmering with static, seemed to regard me with a knowing twinkle in his eye.
And as the train hurtled through the temporal wormhole, connecting these disparate baseball realities, each boy experienced a realization. They weren't just along for the ride, they were active players in a game that spanned lifetimes.
I stared speechless at the holographic Babe Ruth.
The Sultan of SWAT, his image flickering with the glitches of 1,000 bad VHS tapes, leaned back against a ghostly baseball bat, a knowing smirk playing on his pixelated lips.
So, kid, you got a thing for time travel, huh? Or maybe you just really love hot dogs.
He winked, and Robert wasn't sure if it was a genuine gesture or just a quirk of the holographic projection.
I don't understand. How is this possible? Where are we?
The babe chuckled, a sound like 1,000 baseball cards shuffling in the wind.
This, kid, is where the spirit of the game lives on. A place beyond time, beyond reality, where every game ever played, every strikeout, every home run exists in a single glorious instant.
Meanwhile, Ted's encounter with the talking baseball glove had taken a turn for the surreal. The glove, its leather cracked and worn with age, bobbed in midair, its voice a raspy whisper that seemed to seep into Ted's very consciousness.
To escape this temporal jam, you must solve the riddle of the cosmic curveball.
A cosmic curveball? What's that supposed to mean?
The glove, ignoring Ted's question, continued its cryptic monologue.
It bends time and space, a pitch so wild it leaves no trace. Find the answer and the way will be clear. Fail and be lost in the time stream, I fear.
Back in the futuristic stadium, Robert found himself at the center of a bizarre recruitment drive. The robotic arm, its metallic claws gleaming under the stadium lights, hovered inches from his chest. Designation Robert, a voice boomed from the stadium speakers, its tone flat and emotionless, the voice of pure artificial intelligence. You possess the necessary biometrics for integration into the Cyber League. Resistance is futile. Robert, his heart pounding in his chest, instinctively dodged the robotic arm. Integration? He repeated, his voice trembling slightly. What are you talking about? The Cyber League, the voice intoned, its words echoing through the stadium, is the culmination of baseball's evolution. Here, human and machine merge, pushing the boundaries of athletic achievement to their absolute limit.
As Robert faced his robotic recruiter, Ted found himself swept up in the infectious rhythm of the disco fever dimension. The air throbbed with the beat of 1,000 mirror balls. The stadium floor transformed into a giant dance floor where players and fans alike boogied down between innings. A figure, resplendent in a sequined jumpsuit and platform shoes, approached Ted, his afro a towering testament to the power of hairspray. "You kid!" he boomed, his voice a gravelly baritone that could only be achieved through years of late-night disco marathons. "You got moves." Ted, never one to shy away from a challenge, puffed out his chest. "You know it," he replied, striking a pose that would have made John Travolta proud. "They call me the Disco King," the figure said, striking a pose of his own, his platform shoes glinting under the disco ball. "And I challenge you to a dance-off. The winner stays, the loser, well, let's just say they'll be singing a different tune."
While Ted battled the Disco King and Robert faced the prospect of robotic assimilation, Bruce had found his own unique form of trouble. The psychedelic concession stand, with its mountains of glowing cotton candy and vats of neon-colored soda, proved too tempting to resist. "Jackpot!" Bruce exclaimed, his eyes wide with a sugar-fueled gleam. He had discovered a stack of glowing baseball cards, each one pulsing with an otherworldly light. These weren't just any baseball cards. These were relics of the time train, each one containing a fragment of a lost baseball memory. Bruce, unaware of the card's true power, saw them as the ultimate score. "These are going to be worth a fortune back home," he muttered to himself, stuffing his pockets with the glowing cards. But as he reached for another handful, a voice boomed through the concession stand, shaking the ground beneath his feet.
Back in the futuristic stadium, Robert had a sudden realization. The robotic arm, its metallic claws still extended, seemed to pause, its programming momentarily stymied by Robert's unexpected insight. "This isn't right," This whole Cyber League thing, it goes against the spirit of the game. The holographic Babe Ruth, his image solidifying for a moment, nodded in agreement.
You're catching on, kid. The game's about heart, about passion, about the thrill of the unpredictable. You can't program that.
Robert, his mind racing, flipped through the pages of his notebook. He had been so focused on documenting the impossible that he had missed the obvious. The answer wasn't in the technology, it was in the history, in the stories that had been passed down through generations of fans.
The boys, each facing their own unique challenge, had stumbled upon a crucial piece of the puzzle.
Ted, through the rhythmic chaos of his disco showdown, realized that the answer to the glove's riddle lay not in words, but in the feeling, the energy of the music itself.
Bruce, his pockets overflowing with glowing baseball cards, found himself face to face with the guardian of the concession stand, a giant sentient gumball machine with a penchant for riddles and a serious sweet tooth. And Robert, inspired by the holographic Babe Ruth, realized that the key to escaping the time train lay not in fighting the technology, but in harnessing the very spirit of the game itself. He had to rally the ghosts of baseball legends to remind the Cyber League what it meant to play with heart, with passion, with a love for the game that transcended time and technology. The train, its journey nearing its end, hurtled towards its final destination. The boys, separated by dimensions yet united by a shared purpose, prepared to turn the tables on the forces of temporal baseball chaos. The game was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The train car lurched, sending a tremor through its occupants and the very fabric of time and space. The hum, once a steady drone, now pulsed with an erratic energy, a cacophony of static and feedback. Outside the windows, the kaleidoscopic landscapes blurred, merging into a dizzying vortex of color and light.
What's happening?
Bruce shouted, his voice barely audible above the din. He clutched a handful of glowing baseball cards, their light flickering in sync with the erratic hum. Robert, his eyes glued to the holographic map, watched in alarm as the branching timelines twisted and turned, converging on a single point. Yankee Stadium, 1976.
The timelines, they're collapsing in on themselves.
Collapsing? You mean we're going back? The train car was no longer a vehicle for time travel. It was a crucible, a melting pot where the disparate realities of baseball's past, present, and future collided in a dazzling, disorienting spectacle.
Cartoon anvils materialized out of thin air, only to dissolve into showers of disco glitter.
Holographic projections of Cyber League robots flickered into existence, their metallic forms clashing with the cartoonish backdrop.
And through it all, the disembodied voice boomed, its tone no longer authoritative, but laced with a hint of panic. The loop is closing, it announced, its words echoing with a distorted urgency. Time is running out.
The boys, caught in the center of this temporal maelstrom, knew that this was their last chance. They had to use everything they had learned, everything they had experienced, to break free from the Bronx time loop. Ted, his mind still buzzing with the rhythm of the disco, realized that the answer to the glove's riddle wasn't in the words, but in the feeling. The cosmic curveball wasn't a literal pitch. It was a disruption, a break in the expected rhythm. He looked around the chaotic train car, at the clashing realities, the merging timelines, and a slow grin spread across his face. This wasn't a problem to be solved. It was a dance floor to be conquered. "Hey, Glove Brain!" Ted shouted, catching the talking glove as it floated past. "Think you can handle a little remix?" He hurled the glove, along with a handful of glowing baseball cards, into the heart of the temporal chaos. The glove, caught in the crossfire of converging realities, absorbed the energy of the cards, its leather crackling with otherworldly light. It spun wildly, transforming into a makeshift disco ball, its every rotation sending out pulses of temporal energy, disrupting the flow of the collapsing timelines.
Bruce, his pockets overflowing with glowing baseball cards, faced his own dilemma. The giant gumball machine, its glass dome filled with a swirling vortex of candy-colored timelines, rumbled ominously.
You possess the keys to time, the gumball machine boomed, its voice a deep, resonating baritone. But do you have the stomach for the journey?
Bruce, a surge of sugar-fueled inspiration hitting him like a caffeine jolt, knew exactly what to do. He grabbed a handful of the glowing baseball cards and, with a mischievous grin, shoved them into the gumball machine's coin slot. The machine sputtered, its gears grinding as it tried to process the influx of temporal energy. Gumballs, each one a miniature portal to a different baseball reality, erupted from the chute, bouncing off the walls in a chaotic symphony of color and light. Bruce, armed with a soda bottle and a mischievous glint in his eye, batted the gumballs back into the collapsing timelines, creating a chain reaction of sugary chaos that further disrupted the loop.
Inspired by Babe Ruth's words, I realized something important. The key to escaping the time train wasn't about fighting the technology, it was about reminding it of its roots, the human heart that beats at the center of every game. I closed my eyes and pictured the legends of the game, Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio. Their names are etched in my memory, their stories woven into the fabric of baseball history. I thought of their passion, their grit, their unwavering love for the game. Opening my eyes, I began to sketch. My pencil flew across the pages of my notebook. I drew the swing of Ruth's bat, the grace of Gehrig's fielding, the lightning speed of DiMaggio's base running, and as I drew, the notebook began to glow with an otherworldly light. The images came to life, transforming into miniature holographic projections that swirled around me. The spirits of baseball's past, summoned by my reverence and fueled by my artistic passion, were ready to rewrite the future.
The train car, caught in the crossfire of temporal anomalies, shuddered violently. The hum reached a deafening crescendo, a symphony of static and feedback that threatened to tear the very fabric of reality apart. But amidst the chaos, a sense of order began to emerge. Ted's disco-fueled glove, spinning wildly, acted as a temporal conductor, guiding the chaotic energies of the collapsing timelines. Bruce's gumball chaos, a sugar-coated smokescreen, provided the perfect distraction, deflecting the attention of the disembodied voice and its attempts to regain control. And Robert, his holographic projection swirling around him, rallied the spirits of baseball legends. Their ghostly forms converged on the heart of the time train, their combined energy pushing back against the collapsing timelines, holding open a window for escape. With a final earth-shattering jolt, the train screeched to a halt. The hum, once deafening, faded into a gentle hum, a familiar sound that sent a wave of relief through the boys. They stumbled out of the train car, their senses reeling, their bodies still buzzing with residual temporal energy. Gone were the bizarre landscapes of the Bronx time loop. In their place stood the familiar, reassuring sight of the Yankee Stadium concourse. The aroma of hot dogs and popcorn filled the air, a welcome sensory anchor to reality. Crowds of fans, their faces a blur of pinstripes and excitement, surged past them, oblivious to the temporal anomaly that had just unfolded beneath their feet. The boys exchanged bewildered glances, their expressions a mixture of relief and disbelief. Had it all been a dream, a sugar-fueled hallucination, or had they truly journeyed through time and space only to return to the exact moment they had left? Section 8, A Bronx Tale to Tell.
They made their way back to their seats, their pockets lighter but their spirits soaring.
Mrs. Fox, her brow furrowed with concern, greeted them with a mixture of relief and exasperation.
"Where have you three been?" she demanded, her voice a mixture of relief and exasperation. "The game's about to start."
The boys, their expressions a mixture of awe and amusement, settled back into their seats. Mrs. Fox, none the wiser to their temporal adventure, shook her head and smiled.
The boys, exchanging knowing glances, simply shrugged, a mischievous twinkle in their eyes. They had a story to tell, a Bronx tale for the ages, but some adventures they knew were best kept secret.
As the roar of the crowd washed over them, as the crack of the bat echoed through the stadium, they settled back into their seats, their hearts filled with a newfound appreciation for the simple joy of the game.
They had faced the impossible, danced with destiny, and returned with a secret that would forever bind them together.
They were the Bronx time travelers, and this was just the beginning of their extraordinary journey.
Section 1. Timeless Triumph.
As the game roared back to life, Ted, Bruce, and Robert sat mesmerized, their previous temporal escapades feeling like a fever dream.
The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the scent of hot dogs and anticipation, the essence of Yankee Stadium grounded them, reminding them that some magic is best witnessed in the present moment.
Yet, they weren't the same wide-eyed kids who had first descended those steps into the unknown. They had faced cartoon chaos, disco fiends, and robotic overlords, returning with a newfound appreciation for the timeless allure of the game.
They had glimpsed the infinite possibilities of baseball, its power to transcend time and reality, but also its enduring connection to the human spirit.
They had argued, strategized, and ultimately triumphed, not because of any supernatural abilities, but because of their shared love for the game and their unwavering Bronx grit.
They had learned that the true magic of baseball wasn't in time-traveling trains or holographic projections, but in the shared experience, the generational connection, the timeless thrill of a perfectly executed double play or a game-winning home run.
As the innings flew by, they found themselves cheering alongside their classmates, their voices blending with the roar of the crowd, their hearts pounding with the rhythm of the game. The temporal disruptions, the collapsing timelines, all faded into the background, replaced by the simple joy of being present, of witnessing history unfold before their very eyes. But even as they immersed themselves in the game, the echoes of their adventure lingered.
Ted, watching a particularly dazzling play by a rookie shortstop, couldn't help but wonder if the young athlete had ever received pointers from a disco-loving phantom.
Bruce, munching on his well-earned hot dog, swore he could still taste a hint of cosmic cotton candy lingering on his tongue.
And Robert, sketching furiously in his notebook, couldn't shake the feeling that the ghosts of baseball legends were watching over him, their presence a comforting reassurance.
They knew they could never fully explain their adventure to anyone, not even to Mrs. Fox, whose exasperated expression suggested she had already chalked up their disappearance to a combination of mischief and an insatiable appetite for snacks.
But they didn't need to. The memories were theirs to keep, a shared secret that bound them together in a way that transcended words.
They had looked into the heart of baseball's infinite possibilities and returned with a story etched not on paper but on their souls.
The train ride, the bizarre encounters, the collapsing timelines. It had all been a test, a challenge issued by the very spirit of the game itself.
And they, the unlikely heroes of PS 96, had passed with flying colors, proving that the love for the game, like the Bronx itself, was a force to be reckoned with. Section 3. The Bronx Forever Home Plate.
As the game reached its climax, the score tied, the tension palpable, Ted turned to his friends, a mischievous glint in his eye. "You know," he whispered, "for a bunch of time travelers, we sure picked a nail-biter to come back to."
Bruce, his eyes glued to the field, barely looked up. "Just wait," he mumbled, his mouth full of popcorn. "I got a good feeling about this next inning." And, as if on cue, the Yankee batter stepped up to the plate, the crowd erupting in a frenzy of anticipation.
The crack of the bat echoed through the stadium as the ball soared through the air, a perfect arc against the backdrop of the setting sun. Time seemed to stand still, the entire stadium holding its breath as the ball sailed towards the outfield wall.
And then it was gone, disappearing over the wall in a blaze of glory, a game-winning home run that sent the crowd into a frenzy.
Ted, Bruce, and Robert, caught up in the moment, jumped to their feet, their voices blending with the roar of the crowd, their hearts pounding with the triumphant rhythm of the Bronx. They were home, and in that moment, they knew that no matter where life took them, no matter how far they traveled, the spirit of the game, like the spirit of the Bronx, would always be a part of them.